Hi everybody, welcome to Post to Post. Welcome to the video. My name's Neil. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new, would love it if you could hit the subscribe button down below. I'm talking hockey on a regular, almost daily basis here. Maybe not so much in the off season, thrown in a couple other sports like baseball and stuff, but generally this channel is completely hockey related, especially during the NHL season. I'm looking at jerseys, regular, real life jerseys, and then jersey concepts, logo concepts, ranking logos, doing all kinds of fun stuff on the channel. So would love to have you on board and have some fun with me, basically. Now, this video has been requested a bunch because I usually release a version of this video only once a year, and it's been a year since I released my last version. It's ranking the entire NHL, all the teams, 32 now, based on my favorite to least favorite. Now, that's kind of a difficult thing to do because I don't necessarily cheer for all 32 teams, so even though the one in 32nd position, whatever that is, you'll find out later, it doesn't mean that I like that team. It's just in 32nd. It means like there's a lot of teams I don't really necessarily like. I don't hate any team. If this channel has taught me anything, it's that I'm a hockey fan first, and I really enjoy just watching hockey, regardless of team. I do have my favorite teams as we go through this. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate you. We're going to do this in reverse order of what I usually do, which is actually normal order. I'm going to start at number 1 and go to 32. So I'm wearing my number 1. If you're new, hey, I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. If you are aware of who I am and have been watching me for a while, hey, there's no surprise here. So Montreal Canadiens, my favorite team. I was born and raised in a household full of Canadiens fans. It was really just my dad. He was born and raised in Montreal. And naturally, I was born and raised to be a Canadiens fan. So that's how I became a Canadiens fan. All right, let's get going to number 2, and that is the San Jose Sharks. So yeah, it all started in 2010, the San Jose Sharks. It was 2010. I was looking for a West team to cheer for. I had cheered for Colorado like in the 90s. I'll talk about that a little bit coming up very soon, actually. But I cheered for Colorado in the past, and I still really, really like Colorado. Still did in 2010, but kind of wanted to try something new, I guess. And the San Jose Sharks had jerseys I really liked, logos I really liked. I loved that area of California. Hadn't been at that time, but really, admired it from a distance. So I found like San Jose was the most logical choice, not even including some of the players that they had on the team, and that was actually one of the main reasons. I was a huge Patrick Marleau fan, so that was actually the main reason why I became a huge fan of the San Jose Sharks. Started in 2010, started watching basically every single game for the years following, and ever since then they've been my second favorite team. Number 3, the Colorado Avalanche. So my love for the Colorado Avalanche goes back to the 90s, like I mentioned earlier in the video. When Patrick Roy got traded from the Montreal Canadiens to the Colorado Avalanche, I was devastated because I wasn't so much a Montreal Canadiens fan. I was a huge Patrick Roy fan. When that trade happened, I had to follow Patrick Roy. And as long as Patrick Roy stayed with Colorado up until, I don't even remember the year that he retired, 8-9 years or something like that, he was with Colorado. I was a huge Colorado Avalanche fan. My parents got me jerseys and jackets and shirts and all kinds of stuff. I'm sure that probably upset Dad a little bit, but I'm sure he understood at the same time. So, Colorado Avalanche, they're not really the same team that they used to be back in those days. They were a powerhouse back then, and although they're way better today in the past couple of seasons than they were, maybe in the past 10 to 15 years, they I don't know if I consider them to be a totally elite team because of expectations, I guess. I expected them to go potentially maybe all the way last year, win the cup, and they really let me down. I can't believe they didn't progress farther than they did. So I love Colorado. Don't get me wrong. They're one of my favorite teams. I just they've disappointed me a little bit. Now they're my third favorite team. It's not like I'm breaking any hearts out there or anything like that, but I'm cautious when it comes to the teams that I cheer for because I don't want to get too emotionally invested and then to be disappointed. So I try and avoid heartbreak like that. So I have high hopes for Colorado, but I'm still cautious at the same time. I love a lot of the players on the team, specifically McKinnon. I live in Atlantic Canada in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and McKinnon grew up in Nova Scotia, which is the adjacent province. So gotta love McKinnon, and I love a lot of other players on the team as well. So I like me some Colorado Avalanche. Number 4, the Seattle Kraken. Yeah, I bet you longtime viewers probably didn't see this one coming. The Seattle Kraken, and yeah, look behind me. I've got no jerseys to put up there. Jerseys are technically in existence, but not for regular Joes like myself. So I'll be waiting until, at the very earliest, mid-September, which is about a month from now, before I get mine. And I'm not sure how I'm going to get it, who I'm going to get it from, or how much I'm going to pay. But they will be coming for sure. I'm going to get the home and the away. But Seattle, I just felt like, you know what? I had such a good time with Vegas and watching them, and I had such an amazing opportunity going to Vegas during that first year, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I really appreciate Seattle for a lot of reasons. I don't necessarily really like a lot of the players that they chose, and I think that maybe they made some wrong decisions. However, I love their brand. It's got to be one of the best brands in professional sports, not even just in hockey or the NHL. In professional sports, they've just knocked it out of the park with the brand. I like a lot of staff that they have in the management positions. Big fan of the people leading the team, although like I said, disagree with some of their decisions as far as roster and stuff. And I like the location. I guess technically I've been to Seattle. I switched flights when I was like 6. I don't remember it. So technically I've been in Washington. Technically I've been in Seattle, but I don't remember any of it. So I want to go there. Okay. I really like Washington. I from afar, I appreciate it from afar. And it's just such a beautiful state from what I've seen. And I want to go there. And when I go there, I want to see the Seattle Kraken. And I want to see that new arena and those crazy 2 scoreboards that look strange. And it's just, I want to go there. I want to be there, and I want to see a game, and I'm going to watch them. I'm going to watch every single Seattle Kraken game this year coming up in the NHL, this NHL season. And I'm excited for the team, and I want to be there at the beginning and support the team from the beginning. Do I think they're going to go out and win the Stanley Cup? No. Do I think they're going to pull a Vegas and go to the finals? No, definitely not. I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs. However, I'm really excited to watch the team, and I definitely want to support them the best I can, even though I live literally on the other side of the continent. I definitely want to support them. So shout out to the Seattle Kraken, and I can't wait to get some of the jerseys. Number 5, the Vegas Golden Knights. Speaking of expansion teams, the Vegas Golden Knights, when that roster was first announced, I was like, I don't think so. I'm sitting here saying that I didn't have faith in the roster, and they went on to almost win the Stanley Cup. And I just said that I don't have faith, or that much faith, in the Seattle Kraken roster. So, who knows, really? But back to the Vegas Golden Knights. The story's interesting. For me personally, I like the team as far as when they were originally created, they were a team of misfits, and I really ran with that. They kind of embraced that and wore it on their shoulder and on their sleeve, and I really appreciated that. And I remember it was about 6 or 7 games in, I made a video thinking, and I think it was titled, "Are the Vegas Golden Knights for real?" Because they maybe had not lost a game at that point, I can't remember, but and I remember saying yes. And I loved watching the team at that point. It only took a couple of games, 5-6 games or whatever it was, and I was on board, and I watched the rest of the season of the Vegas Golden Knights, and I came to really appreciate the team. And then later on in the year, their first year in the NHL, I got the opportunity to actually go to Vegas during the playoffs and see them play in the conference finals against Winnipeg and win the game that I went to. And then I stayed for 3 weeks around Vegas, and I watched a couple of games from outside the arena, and then another game from in the arena, but they were playing in Washington, but I was still in the T-Mobile Arena. And I had a wonderful time, and I can say all kinds of nice things about the Vegas Golden Knights team and franchise, which are all very true. But I think the main reason why I like the Vegas Golden Knights the most, like why they're in the top 5, is because of the city and because of the people. It was one of the best experiences of my entire life, getting to know a lot of people in Vegas, and I just had a wonderful time there. I really like the city. I don't drink, I don't gamble, I don't do any of this typical stuff on the Strip. I didn't even really enjoy the Strip that much. It was okay to walk through and stuff, but I just liked I like the surrounding areas. I think the most. I really appreciate the desert, because I come from the Canadian forests of New Brunswick. New Brunswick is basically one big giant forest. I see trees and stuff all the time. So to see something the complete opposite in a desert was really captivating to me. So I enjoyed my time in Vegas. I enjoy the Vegas Golden Knights, but they can't go into 4th place or higher because you fired Gerard Gallant from Prince Edward Island, and I lived in Prince Edward Island for about 10 years, and I can never forgive you for that. So you're 5th, but you ain't going higher. Number 6. The New York Rangers. You know why I like the New York Rangers? It's real simple. They're a no-nonsense team. And this all happened a couple of years ago. I think it was just after the trade deadline, or maybe just before. They were like, hey, I think we're going to rebuild now. Just like completely randomly in the middle of a season when no one expected it. And everyone was just like, okay, cool. But it was needed. Like, it was really needed. And they recognized it early, and they announced it early, and they went through with it. And here we are with the Rangers. Well, although they didn't make the playoffs last year, technically they actually had more seasonal points than the Montreal Canadiens. So if things were done a little bit differently, the Rangers actually would have made the playoffs last year. But I digress. The Rangers are a different team than they were even 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So I like that attitude. Like, you know what? We don't got time for this. Like, we need to make some changes. Let's make some changes. And then you got players who aren't performing or maybe doing something stupid like D'Angelo, who's a useless turd, and they're like, we don't like you. We don't like what you represent. We don't like who you are. See ya. Gone. No nonsense team. And then what happened with the whole Panarin situation and Tom Wilson, the Rangers didn't really come out looking that great from that situation. So you know what they did in the offseason? No nonsense team. Let's get Reeves. Bring Reeves in. You think that's going to happen again? Hell no, it's not going to happen again. So, Rangers, I'm on board. I like your no-nonsense attitude. I like your history. I'm a big fan of your away jersey. I'm going to watch some Rangers this year. Number 7, the Dallas Stars. So this is a tough one for me because the Dallas Stars actually dropped down my list compared to last year. And Dallas was once my third favorite team not too long ago. And I was really excited when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. I guess technically it was last year, but it wasn't last season, so you know what I mean. Anyways, they went to the finals, and they didn't get it done. And I was really disappointed. And as much as I like Dallas, and I love so many of the players, and I'm a huge fan of Texas, even though I've never been there, they can be an extremely frustrating team to watch. Really inconsistent on all aspects of the ice. So it's a team that I like. They're easy to cheer for because they have so many likable players and talented players. But they're so inconsistent. It's very difficult, and I don't know what the outlook for Dallas is. Like, I don't know where this team is going directionally, and I hope they go. I hope they trend, obviously, in the right direction, but I don't know. I don't know about Dallas. So I had to drop them down my list a little bit. Number 8, the Florida Panthers. Oh, what a love-hate relationship I have with Florida. I love the makeup of the team. I love their jerseys and their logos, and how big they are. They're just, a thrash and crash kind of team. I there's not enough of that in hockey, and I love it. I love to see them smash and crash in the playoffs and in the regular season and just bring the pain. That's the kind of hockey that I like. But you fired Gerard Gallant, and last year I had to drop you way down. I think you were 14th Florida last year in my ranking, but I put you up like 6 spots. You're back into the top 10. I've forgiven you a little bit for firing Gerard Gallant. Still some questionable moves in the last couple of years, but I think the team has a lot of potential. And I'm really disappointed that they ran into Tampa in that first round last season. And it's unfortunate because I really wanted to see what they could have done without facing Tampa, or maybe someone else putting Tampa out and then giving them the chance to kind of see what they can do. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what these Florida Panthers can do this coming season. I'm very excited for it. Yeah, I wish them all the best, but Tampa's still in that division, and even though they get rid of a bunch of players, they're still pretty good. Number 9, the Minnesota Wild. I think the best way that I can summarize the Minnesota Wild is probably a team that I never really paid attention to. Kind of in the middle of the pack, never really got excited about, never really hated or disliked at all ever, really. They were just kind of always there. Never really paid attention to them, except for last year. I had a lot of fun watching Minnesota Wild. I probably watched Minnesota Wild more than any other team in the NHL other than the Montreal Canadiens. I also watched, ironically, a lot of Pittsburgh, weirdly. I don't know why I watched so much Pittsburgh last year, but I did. But Minnesota Wild. Watched a ton of them last year. They used to have one of my favorite players in Mikko Koivu. And then speaking of good players, last year's Kaprizov was there. Hey, that's a whole nother conversation for another video. But I had a lot of fun watching them. It really opened my eyes to the Minnesota Wild, and I liked the reverse retro that they did as well. I mean, they've got one of the best logos in the entire professional sports, not even just NHL, but professional sports. And I think their home jersey specifically is one of the best home jerseys, top 3 for sure. So I'm a big fan of their brand. I'm excited to see what they come up with in the future for branding. And they've made some tough decisions, and some decisions that I think a lot of people never thought that they would actually make, like the Suter and the Parise thing. So I'm kind of glad they did it. Yeah, I'm on board with Minnesota. I like what they've done in the past a little bit. So Minnesota, I'm paying attention to you now. Number 10, the New York Islanders. This is a bit of a tricky ranking for me because there's lots of things I actually don't like about the Islanders. Well, there's one main thing. I think they're one of the most boring teams to watch in the entire NHL. I'm just going to get it out of the way right now. That is the thing that I most dislike about the team, but there's so many other things that I love about the team. I love their colors. I love their brand history, their jersey history, their logo is classic. It's a really respectful team. Now, don't get me wrong, I wish that they would bring back the Fishermen. I've said that 1,000 times on the channel, but I really appreciate their jersey and their logo and all their history and stuff. I like a lot of the players they have in the team, although their system is pretty boring. The Barry Trotz system is effective but boring. But I love so many other things other than like team related. I'm talking about the fans. Okay, I love Islanders fans. I think Islanders have some of the best fans in the entire NHL. I've had some of the best hockey conversations that I've had have been with Islanders fans, but also some of the worst hockey conversations I've had has been with some Islanders fans. But that's why I like them. They are emotionally invested to an extreme. They're spicy, okay? They're invested hardcore into the team. They're a passionate group of fans. And although I've had some heated conversations with some Islanders fans, I appreciate it. I like it. I like the enthusiasm. I like how much they love their team. I'm on board with that. So they make me want to cheer for the Islanders. So Islanders, I'm secretly cheering for you, even though I put the Rangers first. No, or not first, but I put the Rangers ahead of you. I'm secretly also cheering for you Islanders fans' success with the Islanders. So it's been frustrating the past couple of 2 years, getting knocked out by the Tampa Bay Lightning 2 years in a row. But we'll see what happens next year. Number 11, the Winnipeg Jets. Yes, only the second Canadian team so far in my ranking. Only one Canadian team has cracked the top 10, and that was the Montreal Canadiens. But the Winnipeg Jets have come in number 11, and for a number of reasons. And the first one I want to talk about is kind of a strange one because I got to see them play. I think I mentioned this early in the video when I did the Vegas segment. I got to see them play Vegas, and Vegas won. I was cheering for Vegas. I was wearing Vegas merch. I was in Vegas. I was hardcore cheering for Vegas. I was cheering against Winnipeg. However, I still got to see Winnipeg play in person, and that really meant a lot to me. That was special for me because I had never seen the Winnipeg Jets play in person before. I've barely even been to 5 NHL games. I think I've only actually been to 4 or 5 NHL games. It's not that many. So seeing a team for the first time is really important to me. I cherish that memory. And the Winnipeg Jets, from then on, I started to really, really appreciate. Now they've kind of dipped a little bit as far as production, or they should have done better these past couple of years. There's no other way to say it. Let's put it like that. So a little disappointing as far as the team trending, but I think they have a lot of potential, and I really like a lot of players in their lineup. But they did just face the Montreal Canadiens, and Montreal won with a very controversial play that happened during the series, so I couldn't justify putting them in my top 10. But hey, they're a Canadian team. I love their brand. I mean, obviously I love their brand and their jerseys. Look, I've got every damn Adidas jersey that they've ever made behind me and on me. So I like their jerseys, and I like their logo. I like what they represent. I love the team name. I've never been to Winnipeg, but I've always wanted to visit. Probably not in the wintertime. Hopefully in summer. I hear it's really, really cold in the wintertime. But it's kind of hard not to like the Winnipeg Jets. I'm on board with Winnipeg. Number 12, the St. Louis Blues. The Blues are a bit of a tricky one for me because they've actually dropped down my list quite a bit in the last 2 years. They used to be in my top 4, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago. But one of the reasons I loved the St. Louis Blues, those couple of years ago, was because of Jake Allen. I'm from Fredericton, New Brunswick. Jake Allen's from Fredericton, New Brunswick. He's my favorite player currently in the NHL, and I was a big, avid St. Louis Blues watcher because of that. Even though he was a backup for a little bit of that, I still really wanted to support him and the team he was on, of course, obviously. So I have big love for the St. Louis Blues. So even though they're ranked 12th, I cheered for them for a very long time because of Jake Allen. So they're still pretty close to my heart, but they have definitely dropped down my list. I was so happy that they won the Stanley Cup. I thought that was amazing. We had Chicago win it 3 times and then Pittsburgh win it back-to-back. It was just like, oh my God, can we please just get a new team to win? And they were facing Boston, and Boston had just won the 8 years prior or whatever it was. So it's like I was rooting so hard for St. Louis, and they won, and it just felt like this big weight was off my shoulders. A team that I was finally cheering for to win the Stanley Cup actually won the Stanley Cup, and I wasn't left disappointed. So it was a really cool year when St. Louis won. They probably have one of the best brands in the NHL. Like, their jerseys, Okay, I know I understand the one that I am wearing gets made fun of a little bit, the reverse retro, but if looking at the jerseys behind me, their brand is absolutely incredible. I love their jerseys. I love their jersey history. Yeah, I love the way that their whole uniform looks really on the ice, and whatever jersey they decide to wear, they've got some good looking uniforms. So St. Louis, you've dropped down my list, but I still really appreciate you. Number 13, the Carolina Hurricanes. This is a tough ranking for me because, man, they've dropped a lot on my list. They've dropped 8 positions from last year, if I'm not mistaken. And it all comes down to with some of the moves they've made in the offseason. And they're a strong team. They're competitive. They could contend for a Stanley Cup. They've grown a lot in the past 3-4 years. It's been awesome seeing the growth. But some of the decisions that they've made in the offseason, like getting rid of Nedeljkovic and signing Tony DeAngelo, and just not paying people what they deserve, offering Hamilton like $6 million and then having him walk to New Jersey. It's frustrating because I really like the team, and they've disappointed me these past 3-ish months. That's hard to say. They're on my radar. I'm gonna watch their games. Like I've ranked them 13th, but I'm gonna watch their games. Obviously, I'm gonna follow them. I'm a little upset with them right now, like I said, but they're still on my radar. So we'll see where they land next year. We'll see what kind of decisions they make through the season, how they do, and whatnot. So I'm still cheering for Carolina, but a little peeved. Number 14, the Calgary Flames. Now I'll start with this. The Calgary Flames don't actually have a lot of players on the team that I like. There's a couple that I really like, and the other ones, meh. So my joy for Calgary really comes down to 2 things. Number 1 is their brand. I think they have one of the best logos in professional sports. I love it. It's so simple, and it's exactly what it should be. And their jerseys are incredible. I really appreciate their brand. But the other big thing is the city. I've been to Calgary 2 times. I stayed there for a week, and or one of those times was a week time there, and it was amazing. I really like the city of Calgary. It's probably my favorite Canadian city and one of my favorite cities in North America. I can't wait to go back. I've got friends that live there that I would love to visit, and when I visit them, I'd like to go see a game. So I appreciate Calgary as a city and as a team as a whole, but players individually, not so much. But I'm still curious to see where the team is trending and where they're going. I'll definitely be cheering for Calgary. Number 15, the Arizona Coyotes. So first I want to talk about the location of the Arizona Coyotes, because it's a bit of a concern right now as I'm filming this, and I want to explain it a little bit. So I was actually in Arizona 3 years ago during my whole trip around Vegas and whatnot, and I went over to Arizona and stuff. And I stayed in that area for probably about 3 or 4 days with my friend Luke, and he's from there, so he showed me around the city and stuff. And he lived in Tempe, which is kind of like above, I think, and then in the middle is Phoenix, and then down below is kind of where the arena is. It's way out in the middle of nowhere, so I understand like the problems that's going on in Arizona as I'm filming this. However, it is a beautiful spot. Like I love that whole area. I'm a big fan of Arizona. Other than Colorado being my favorite state, like now that I've actually been to Arizona and like driven almost all the way through it, it is absolutely one of my favorite states, maybe number 2. So I really appreciate the location of the Arizona Coyotes, as in the state, not as in the arena. Hopefully that gets sorted out soon. But the team is a bit frustrating at the same time because they've made some questionable decisions. They've gotten in trouble for some of the decisions that they've made, and they haven't been consistent as a team. And we've seen a lot of players come in and out, and players that I never thought, players that have been developing, looking pretty good, and then they go somewhere else. It's like, well, what are you doing? Coyotes, what are you doing? So a tough team to cheer for, actually, a little bit in that sense, but from a different sense, really easy to cheer for as far as what they wear. I really like their home and away jerseys. They're probably transitioning to the Kachina jersey next season, which is great news as well. You can see it in my background up there. Big fan of that jersey, and then the reverse retro is amazing as well. So I like what they look like. I don't necessarily like where they're located within Arizona, and I like Arizona. I'm not sure if that all makes sense, but that's how I feel about the Arizona Coyotes. Number 16, the Ottawa Senators. If you're familiar with my ranking last year, you will be extremely surprised by this location for Ottawa here. They were last year. Yeah, I ranked them absolutely last year because of Melnyk. Okay, I really don't like Melnyk, and during the time of that video last year, I think he probably said something stupid and it pissed me off, so I basically put the team last. But after watching this team in the past year, after seeing them in their new jerseys, listen, I still hate Melnyk. I think he's stupid and arrogant and selfish and ridiculous. But This team has so much promise, and I've enjoyed watching Ottawa in these past 12 months, or I guess 10 months, or whatever it's been, so much. Like, this team has a lot of talent. They have, their future is really bright, and I never would have predicted it because they've sent out so many people, and they was just left with like nothing. And it's like, holy crap, it's gonna take this team like a decade to possibly be competitive again. They turned it around pretty quick. Like, obviously they didn't have a fantastic season last year, but no one really expected them to. And they beat a lot of really good teams. Like, the games that they lost last year were kind of against the worst, or the equal teams in their division, I guess, if you want to say. They played well against some of the top teams in the division. So I think Ottawa has a lot of potential, and I like the direction that the team is going. I like that they're bringing in some new faces as well, and they're drafting smart. They're developing their youth smart. So Ottawa's a team I'm absolutely putting on my radar for this year. I can't wait to watch them and see how well they do. I think they're going to do better this year. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to getting some of those new jerseys, and I may have one on the way. Little hint for the future. Number 17, the Vancouver Canucks. So listen, the Vancouver Canucks are one of those teams that I don't love, I don't hate. They're always kind of in the middle for me. Some years I watch more Vancouver Canucks, some years I watch less Vancouver Canucks. They're kind of one of those teams that just exist and that I pay attention to sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, maybe I'll watch a different team tonight. So again, don't love them, don't hate them. I've been to Vancouver technically, but never really explored Vancouver. It's always a city that I've really wanted to actually like spend some time in, maybe a week, and really kind of travel around and enjoy the city and explore. But I've never been, so that's definitely on my list of cities to visit in Canada pretty soon. And I love the province of British Columbia. Obviously, it is absolutely incredible. If you've never been to British Columbia, please consider, if you have plans to go to Canada, please consider British Columbia one of your destinations. It is so beautiful. It is so amazing. And the Canucks have one of the most interesting jersey histories as well, so I really appreciate that about them. But the Canucks are kind of one of those middle ground teams for me, and don't love them, don't hate them. Number 18, the Edmonton Oilers. So much like the Vancouver Canucks, the Edmonton Oilers for me are just kind of a middle ground team. Don't love them, don't hate them. There's been lots of situations where I've been cheering for the Edmonton Oilers, and some situations where I haven't been cheering for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, unlike Vancouver, I've actually been to Edmonton. It's not my favorite city in the world, but it is very nice. There's lots of things to do around Edmonton. It is close to the mountains. It's in beautiful Alberta. And they have some interesting jerseys as well. Absolutely not my favorite jerseys and throughout their history, but not ones I hate. Like, there's not really any Edmonton jerseys that come to mind that I hate. Yeah, so again, one of those middle ground teams. Number 19, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Listen, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but again, kind of one of those middle ground teams for me. Don't love them, don't hate them. I miss the rivalry with Columbus and Pittsburgh. I feel like that's been kind of missing these past couple of years, because when Columbus used to play Pittsburgh, it was heads thrashing, they were banging, there was physical hockey, there were fights, and I feel that fight out of Columbus a little bit recently. And when they beat Tampa that 2 years ago or whatever it was, that was incredible. I love that. I was cheering so hard for Columbus, but ever since then, it's just like, ugh. It's just the wind is just released from me about Columbus. And although, again, don't dislike them, they haven't really impressed me that much. And some of the moves that they've made and some of the decisions that they've made have been a little bit questionable. But I love their fans. I really, really like Columbus Blue Jackets fans. Some of the nicest fans that I've ever met have been Jackets fans. So I really hope the team has success in the future for them. Not necessarily because I like them or anything like that, but for the fans. So fans, I'm cheering for you more so than the Columbus Blue Jackets. Number 20, the Anaheim Ducks. So, earlier in the video, you would have heard me talk about San Jose and me picking my favorite team in 2010 from the West Coast, going out, picking a team in the West and cheering for them. Well, something you may not know is that I actually really cheered for the Anaheim Ducks around that time as well. They were probably my third or fourth favorite team at the time, because Saku Koivu was my all-time favorite player for the Montreal Canadiens. And then in the 2009-2010 season, I believe it was, is when his first year with the Anaheim Ducks was. And I followed him. I was a huge Saku Koivu fan, and I became a big Anaheim Ducks fan as well. So kind of a weird situation where I picked the Ducks and the Sharks to cheer for beginning in 2010, and then I followed both teams up until 2014, I think, when Saku Koivu retired, and then Anaheim just slowly started to fall off my radar a little bit. and now they land at 20. That doesn't mean that I dislike them. I definitely do not dislike the Anaheim Ducks. They have a bunch of players that I really like. They have a really interesting history as far as players. Some of the best NHL players have come and gone through Anaheim, and they've had success, and they've had bad years, and they've had really good series against teams in the past decades. And I really like watching Anaheim Ducks playoff hockey. Not so much regular season hockey because it's hard for me since I'm on the East Coast and their games are so late. But playoff Anaheim Duck typical hockey is awesome. I love it. And they have, look at the jerseys behind me. I've got so many jerseys. I actually have one over there that just won't fit in the background anywhere. I have nowhere to hang it. So I have a lot of Anaheim Ducks jerseys, thanks to actually some of you, Jared specifically. Thank you, Jared. So it's a team that interests me, but not a team I necessarily love. Number 21, the Nashville Predators. So the Nashville Predators are actually kind of a weird team. They've kind of been all over my list a little bit. They've been in the top 6 or 7, I think, for a little bit. Now they've dropped down, and they've made some questionable decisions in the past couple of years. I just remember that year. They snuck into the playoffs. They faced Chicago in the first round, and they swept them. And they went all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals to face Pittsburgh. And that's when we really got to see, like the rest of the hockey world really got to see and appreciate the Nashville Predators fans and see how incredible the Bridgestone Arena was. And just see the chance and the life from that building. I think Nashville has some of the best fans in the NHL, and I really appreciate them. I've never been to Nashville. I've never been to the Bridgestone Arena. It is at or near the top of my list, probably in the top 3 arenas that I would love to visit and see a game in. And even though they're 21st, which is unfortunate as a team, don't necessarily cheer for them that much. I really like UC Saros and some of the other players on the team. Roman Josi, obviously. But I feel like the life has gone out. Kind of like, what was that other team I said that for? Columbus. I just feel like, I don't know, I feel a bit exhausted with the Nashville Predators. I want to see them bounce back and kind of get their life back as a team. The fans are always great, but as a team, just to kind of come back and maybe contend again. So even though I'm not necessarily cheering for the Nashville Predators, on a night-to-night basis, it would be cool to see them kind of be really competitive again. Number 22, the New Jersey Devils. So the Devils have actually moved up my list a little bit. I think 3 spots from last year. And a lot of it has to do with some of the decisions that they made in the offseason. I really appreciate them bringing in some of the players that they did, like Hamilton and obviously Tatar. So that's cool to see. But as a state, New Jersey doesn't necessarily get a lot of love. But I've been to New Jersey a couple of times because when I go to visit New York City, I usually stay in New Jersey and then just kind of cross over in the mornings and night and stuff. So it's an interesting state as far as shopping. This is a ridiculous conversation to have in this video, but they had, to my knowledge, at least maybe not now, but when I was there, they had no sales tax on clothes. So it was a great place to actually shop and get some clothes. So shout out to New Jersey for that reason. But as a team, they have some players that I really like, but they don't have like a ton of players that I'm behind. Like that, they're not going to make my top 10 anytime soon, I don't think. They're just kind of one of those teams. Number 23, the Detroit Red Wings. Unfortunately, the Red Wings have one of those teams that have kind of been forgotten about these past maybe 4 or 5 years. When I first started on YouTube in 2017, I think that was the year that the Detroit Red Wings were on the risk of potentially not making the playoffs for the first time in 21 years or 26 years or whatever it was. I remember making a video about it. It was one of the first videos I ever made on the original Post to Post channel. I can't remember if they actually made the playoffs that year or not, but since then, the Red Wings have kind of been forgotten about, which is a bit of a shame, but understandable because they've been going through the transition. They had a lot of older players kind of leave the organization and retire and stuff, like Datsuk and Zetterberg and whatnot. Now they're a completely different team. They're just starting to kind of get back into the groove, make some interesting signings in a way, maybe trying to guide the younger players, but still not really a concrete team as far as, what kind of team is this going to be in 3 years? They may still kind of be an under-average team in 3 years, or they could be not bad. So we really don't know. The verdict isn't out on the Detroit Red Wings yet. Team I'm going to be watching, but not necessarily intently, just kind of waiting for them to get, gain some steam and kind of move forward a little bit. But I don't have a lot of Red Wings jerseys. I'm kind of waiting for them to maybe come out with something like a Heritage or a Winter Classic or just something a little bit different for me to collect. Number 24, the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, as a Canadiens fan, it's a bit difficult to wear this Toronto Maple Leafs merch, but I really like the city of Toronto. It gets a lot of hate, and I understand the hate. It's not the greatest city in the world, but it has a lot to love, that's for sure. I love visiting Toronto, and actually a lot of my friends are actually Maple Leafs fans. Here on the east coast of Canada, there's kind of 3 different teams that people cheer for: Montreal Canadiens, the Toronto Maple Leafs, or the Boston Bruins. Other than that, to see like a Calgary Flame is a little rare. To see an Edmonton Oilers fan is rare. So I see a lot of Leafs fans. I know a lot of Leafs fans. I get along with most of them, but still, the relationship here in the Atlantic provinces are interesting. If you're a Canadiens or a Maple Leafs fan, they're a strange team. Like, they cannot get anything done in the playoffs. And selfishly, as a Canadiens fan, to see my team beat the Leafs in the first round like they did was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. But I didn't even want to celebrate because I just felt so deflated for Leafs fans. I felt so bad that they had to go through that because I don't necessarily think that they deserve it. And I want to see the team have success. I think, like, on paper, this team is amazing. They just don't have the grit and the determination in the playoffs to kind of get it done. So I hope they find it. I hope they actually do some damage, but not against my Canadiens. Number 25, the Los Angeles Kings. All right, so the Kings aren't really a team that I've ever really all-in cheered for other than one year. That first time they won the Stanley Cup about a decade ago, I was all in on LA. I was cheering hard for them. I'm really happy that they won. However, other than that, I've really not been a Kings fan in any part of their history, but I like this jersey that I'm wearing is possibly one of the best NHL jerseys that has ever been made in the history. And usually when you say that sentence, you're talking about, the Dallas Stars jersey in the late 90s, that awesome star one. Or you're talking about maybe like the original Blasty or the original Kachina jersey, or just, those iconic jerseys. When you have those conversations, it's not usually talking about a jersey that actually exists now that they've worn recently of any team. To me, this is one of them. Like, I love this jersey. It is perfect. I wouldn't change anything about it. I think LA knocked it out of the park. I hope they change their brand to kind of mimic this in the future. But as a team, still not really one I cheer for that much. But hey, if they change their brand to something a little bit like this, they may move up my list. Number 26, the Philadelphia Flyers. I think my ranking here of the Flyers comes down to one thing: consistency, or maybe rather inconsistency. I can't peg the Flyers. One year they'll do amazing. The next year they'll do absolutely garbage. The next year they'll start out incredible. You're feeling good about the team, and then they just drift off into nothing and don't make the playoffs. Or the opposite, they'll start the year like crap and then somehow make the playoffs. They are the most inconsistent team, I think, in the NHL. Every time I think they're going to do good, they do bad. Every time I think they're going to do bad, they do good. So I don't appreciate inconsistency. I really like consistency, even if that just makes you an average team. If you're consistently average, I would rather cheer for that than a team that's all over the place. So that's kind of how this ranking works for the Flyers. The inconsistency just brings them way down my list because I just can't trust them. Number 27, the Chicago Blackhawks. So the Blackhawks were really one of those teams that I absolutely despised. They won three Stanley Cups in 5 years, and that is so exhausting. I really like when new teams win the Stanley Cup for the first time, or maybe in a very long time. I appreciate the fact that they did it. It is one of the most incredible things that's ever happened in modern NHL history. So, kudos to them. It was amazing for Chicago Blackhawks fans. It really revitalized that entire fan base. Now it's huge, which is actually really great to see. I love that. I've never been to the city of Chicago. Always wanted to visit. But for that reason, they really fell down my list because I really like new teams winning. So then a couple of years went by where they weren't that great, and that's that last couple of years. And I was like, man, they're kind of an underdog now. I think I might cheer for the Chicago Blackhawks a little bit. So I moved them up on my list a little bit. And then last year happened. I was pretty high on Chicago. I watched a lot of Chicago games, and then unfortunately, some injury issues, and then the Jonathan Taves thing, and they didn't have a great year. Goaltending looked really good from out of nowhere, and then it just kind of fizzled a little bit. So I'm curious to see what happens with Chicago. I still have them ranked low, obviously, but I think they're on the trend of maybe moving up. Not so much they dropped technically from last year to this year for me, but I think maybe they'll start to move up again. Maybe in next year's ranking they'll be near 20 or something. Who knows? We'll see. Number 28, the Washington Capitals. So the Capitals have actually dropped 7 positions since last year, and I think the year before that they were maybe 7 positions above that as well. So they've really drastically dropped. down my list, and that's because they won the Stanley Cup. I think, maybe at the highest in my rankings as far as favorite teams or whatever. They've 7th, 8th, maybe around there, maybe even 6th, I think, maybe when I first started the channel. And they got it done. I was really happy they won the Stanley Cup, even though I was technically cheering for the Vegas Golden Knights because I was actually in Vegas at the time. I'm still really happy that the Capitals won. I'm so happy that Ovechkin actually got to win a Stanley Cup. They just kind of fizzled off for me, and mainly just because they won. Like, there's nothing I dislike about the team. I love Ovechkin. I love his personality. There's not really any players in the Capitals that I really dislike other than Tom Wilson. So I think the ranking just comes mostly from them winning the Cup and teams that used to be near the back kind of moving up ahead of them. That's really what it comes down to. Number 29, the Buffalo Sabres. What a frustrating team. No one seems to want to play there. The whole situation with Jack Eichel, I just don't agree with it. They're treating him like he's not actually a human being. Like, they have control of what he does with his body. And maybe I should blame the NHL for this, but Buffalo still has the opportunity to make the right decision, which I personally believe is allowing Jack Eichel to do whatever he wants with his body as far as surgery and what his doctors thinks that he needs. So I'm strongly against the decision that the Buffalo Sabres are making. I would say that I like 99% of Buffalo Sabres fans. I think they have one of the most loyal fan bases in the entire NHL. I wish them the actual success. Like, I really want to see Buffalo do good. So 99% of the fans, I'm on board with you. I want to see you have success, but the team is just so frustrating these past couple of years. I genuinely feel bad for Buffalo Sabres fans. Number 30, the Pittsburgh Penguins. All right, so most of the people who watch my channel kind of know that I don't really like the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't hate them by any means. I actually don't hate any team, but I don't like the Penguins. However, last season, I probably watched more Pittsburgh Penguins games than any other team, maybe other than Montreal and Minnesota. And I don't even know why. I just kind of really I like the team makeup. I liked watching them play. I like a lot of players in Pittsburgh, but I just don't like the fact that they're so damn good all the time. That's really why they're ranked so low. It's a weird team for me. I know some Penguins fans. Most are very, very nice. I've never been to Pittsburgh. I hope to go someday. They've got a lot of bridges. I think, just from a tourist perspective, it would be really interesting to visit there. And I've actually got to see Pittsburgh play. I've got to see them play in 2020, at the beginning of 2020. So that was kind of cool. I've actually can say that I've seen this team play. Something I can't say for most of the teams in the NHL. So even though you're ranked pretty low, Pittsburgh, I'm probably going to end up watching a lot of Penguins games this coming season as well. Number 31, the Boston Bruins. Well, as a Canadiens fan, it is my given right to rank the Boston Bruins near the very end, and that's kind of what I've done. It's a hard thing to do, though, because I actually like a lot of players on the Boston Bruins individually. Some of my favorite players in the NHL actually play for the Boston Bruins, which is a hard thing to say. I think there's more players individually on Boston that I like than my own favorite team, the Montreal Canadiens. So don't tell any Canadiens fans I said that. But yeah, it's a lovely city as well. I got to visit it last year, and most of my hockey friends are, like I said earlier, are Leafs fans and Bruins fans, but I think the majority are Bruins fans. I don't like the Boston Bruins, and that is my right as a Montreal Canadiens fan, and that's what it is. Number 32, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Maybe the most predictable ranking. If you're familiar with me, I had to put Tampa Bay last. Number 1, they just beat my Montreal Canadiens in the Stanley Cup final. Number 2, I don't like repeat back-to-back winners and teams that just win every damn year. I already said that earlier in the video. So this was the easiest ranking for me, is putting this team last. But I like the city of Tampa. I love Florida. I like a lot of the players individually. I love their colors. Not a big fan of their jerseys. I think they need to change their brand. I've said that 1,000 times. But other than the fact that they're so damn good, I like everything else about the Tampa Bay Lightning. I just don't like the fact that they're so damn competitive and they win all the time. And they're probably going to go deep as well in these playoffs, even though they're not technically as good on paper. This coming season, they're probably going to go deep as well. So I don't hate them. They're last. I don't hate them. I'm happy for their fans. I would love to actually go to their arena and visit Tampa again someday. I've never been to the arena, but I've been to Tampa, so I'd like to see the city again, and I'd like to visit the arena for the first time. So there you have it. Now, this video actually took over 2 days, not over 2 days, but I filmed it over 2 days. I filmed it on a Thursday night, and then today, as I'm filming this, which you'll see it, is a Saturday. This took over 2.5 hours to film. Because if you've not noticed, I've been switching out the jerseys in the background and the jerseys that I'm wearing for every single team. and it's very hot in here, so I had to take in lots of breaks and stuff and turn the AC on and whatnot. So this is a very long video to produce, and it's going to take me at least an hour and a half to actually edit the video, and it's going to take an hour to export it. So the process of making this video is, you know, we're talking probably about 5 hours to make this video, and the longest period was the filming period. I actually could have filmed 6 or 7 videos, regular videos for the channel, in the time that it's taken me to film this one. So that is the answer to the question that I get most often, not most often, but often. How come you don't do this video more often? You know, every quarter in the year, or twice a year or something. I do this video once a year because it's a pain in the ass. That's really what it comes down to. It is such a time sink and time investment. I enjoy doing it. I just, by the end of it, I'm exhausted. And right now, I am exhausted. But I appreciate you watching this, because I'm sure this is a long video. I have no idea how long this video is actually going to be, because I don't know. But I appreciate you watching. Would love to have you on board here. Hit the subscribe button down below. And if you don't like my videos, like if you watch them all but don't actually like hit the like button very often, if you could do me a favor and hit the like button on this video, because like I said, it took so long to make, and it's a lot of work went into it, just like physically. I'm pretty sure I've shedded 2 pounds in sweat just making this video. So I'd really appreciate you hitting the like button down below. And even though maybe I rank some of your teams very low in this ranking, it doesn't mean that I hate the teams. So please, if you're gonna leave a comment and tell me why I should like the team more or something, I just ask that you be respectful. I was respectful in this video. I conveyed my opinions respectfully, and I just hope that you can do the same thing. And if you can't, well, I guess we can't be friends. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Adios.